Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. I'm Rusty. She's Heather. We're the Bryants. And you have stumbled upon, or it's your daily Monday daily ritual that you're listening to us at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
You have stumbled upon the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. Thank you for joining us.
We even had somebody this week tell us that they watched us for the first time because we talked about it so much, and they said they felt like they were just sitting down and having a session with us.
So if you're watching us on YouTube, then hey, how you doing? All right. Hey, I'm just curious. Is there anything that you would like to change about me?
What?
You weren't ready for that,
I
were you?
wasn't.
I'm not asking you to say what it would be. Just tell me, is there something that you would like to change about me?
Sure.
What? What is it?
I
Well,
mean,
now I'm curious.
No, I mean, there's 100% thing. No, not 100 things.
Oh.
No, I'm 100% sure that there's things you would want to change about me.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know how many
You're
times?
perfect.
Whatever.
No, I would. There would be.
Yeah.
There would be.
Yeah.
100%. Of course. There would definitely be things.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, is your spouse perfect, or is there something you would want to change about your spouse? I mean, go ahead, answer out loud if you want to. I don't care because we can't hear you. I don't know if you're with. Yes, if you're with your spouse, do it. We just did it. We just answered our own question.
If you're saying there was nothing you would change about your spouse, you a lie.
You a lie. Well,
you're lying.
Yeah. So, but I wonder how many of you wake up in the middle of the night and you start this, you go down this road where it starts with, when is my spouse ever going to change?
Yep.
And like this, and the reason why I set it up that way is because obviously people come to us lots of times because they have some trauma in their past and in their marriage. Could even be infidelity. That's our story. Did I lay in bed after confession, after you confess to me, and wonder and think, is she ever going to change? Like, is this what I'm living with for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know that there's people out there that are thinking that, but it's not just the ones that have been through trauma and betrayal, and it's not just the ones that have been betrayed, because
Sure.
you just admitted that there's things that you would change about me. So maybe you do lay there in the middle of the night. You better not admit this, but
I don't.
Maybe you do lay there in the middle of the night. Or I'm sure you have. Woken up in the middle of the night with just wrestling with this. I mean, he's never going to change. Like, I need him to change. I need him to be better. I need him to do this. I need him to become a different person. And yeah, for me, the same thing. Now, I would ask this question: how's that working out for you? How's that working out for you to be up in the middle of the night, just almost desperately pleading, maybe even pleading with God, but just begging that your spouse change? And then where does that lead? Oh my goodness. You just start going down this trail of all kinds of thoughts that there's rarely anything very positive that comes from that.
And that's when your comparison game starts and you think, oh, well, so-and-so probably isn't like this, or, the comparison game can start, but also just dissatisfaction, like discontent with not only, and I would dare to say that if you're laying there thinking, oh, he's never going to change or she's never going to change, and you get discontent, you're not just discontent with your marriage, but you're discontent with life, because it's like, do I have to do life for the rest of my life with this person? So It can get in a really dark place really quickly.
Yeah. So today we just kind of want to address, like, what do you do when you're having those thoughts? And also, I mean, I would even say we are talking about when those thoughts get a little deeper than just the fleeting moment during the day where, I don't know, maybe you go, golly, when's he going to change and start washing my car more or something like that.
Yeah. Sure.
It's when those deeper things and you begin to dwell on those things. And we know that where this lands with a lot of the couples that we do coaching with is spouses get so fixated on the other person that there's no way, even if you go, no, I know there's things that I need to change too, but my good, it rarely happens that way. It is, people are so fixated on the other person and the other person's need to change in order for this marriage to be successful. And in order for me to be happy, that's really what it is. It's you change, so I'll be happy in this marriage. And what ends up happening is you get stuck in this bitterness, frustration. You're in this cycle of it's never going to get better, because the answer to this is you cannot fix your spouse.
Or change them.
You can't. You can't change them, and you can't fix them. And so part of me just wants to say, stop trying.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, how many times, I actually love it when pastors are preaching a sermon and they just throw this reminder in there, because I hear them do it every now and then. And I kind of wish pastors would open every sermon up like this, where they say, hey, if you're listening to this sermon and you're going, oh my goodness, I sure hope my spouse is listening to this, or I sure hope this person or my kid or whatever. And you're already thinking, I've got to send this to them, because you're just thinking about them and how they need to change, then you're getting it all wrong.
And not only are you getting it all wrong, but it's probably about you.
It is probably about you.
Because I can remember Matt Chandler saying that one time, because I was thinking, and it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It was just, I'm going to send this to one of my kids. So
We
it'll
do that.
encourage
We
them.
do that in a much healthier way.
But I mean, I'm just saying,
right?
It still went, when he said
it.
it.
That's why I said I want him to remind me every time.
That's right. Because he said, if you are listening to this thinking, I hope so-and-so's listening to it, I'm talking to you. You're the problem. And I was like, how rude.
Yeah.
But he was right.
No,
he was right.
And but that's part of, I even think that's part of our journey. And a lot of what we're fixing to talk about, I think, is probably how our mindset has shifted so much through all the years of us growing and just changing our mindset on so many things. Because now, I rarely listen to a sermon or read a book or listen to a podcast or anything where I go, I gotta send this to Heather, or I gotta send this to my kids because I want them to change for my betterment. Because if they'll listen and they'll change in this way, then everything will be better for me. I just rarely do that. But now I listen to things and I'm like, that is so good and it's life-changing for me, and I want to pass it along to somebody else. I do that to Luke and Logan all the time. I just got on this new pastor that's been preaching a lot on manhood, and it was like, no, this is for me. But I'm raising two boys.
Sure.
Why
wouldn't you
they're adults, but I want them to be as touched by it as I am. Not that, y'all need to listen to this.
Yeah. And the amazing thing about messages like that, books, sermons, podcasts, any of those things, is that they land when we are open to God speak to me through this. It lands exactly where he wants it to. And it can land differently
very differently
for you than it does for me. Because I've had sermons that I'm like, this is life changing. And you've listened to it and like, yeah, that was good, but it was something in me that needed attention or needed changing or God wanted to speak to in me.
Yep.
And so it landed completely different. Or maybe I say, oh, could you believe point 1? And you're like, well, point 3 really spoke to me because we're in different places.
Yep.
And so don't expect something like that. And kind of what we're going to talk about today, when you have change in you and you're so excited about maybe sharing that with your spouse, it may not land the same way for them. That doesn't mean that they're less godly than you are.
Right.
It just means that they're in a different place than you are.
Well, I mean, this is the perfect example of that because a lot of what we're about to share, and how to answer this question, it's coming from a really unusual way because it's coming from a message that our worship pastor actually shared this weekend at an event that we were at. And it really hit you.
Yeah.
But it hit you not like this, not like what we're about to talk about. But and so even when like we got his notes and read through them and stuff, very different the way that I'm approaching this.
Sure.
So like it's just this is a perfect example because God spoke to you in a really powerful way. And then as I read back through the notes and I was like, hey, we're going to use this to help answer our question about when's my spouse going to change?
Right.
Very different from what you originally heard God saying to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what we really want to talk about is what do you do when those questions like that just keep coming to mind in the middle of the night? How am I going to, when's my spouse going to change? And we just want to go ahead and from the very beginning say that's not a question for you to answer. And so, I mean, honestly, stop asking the question. And because you have to get to a place where you say, I can't change my spouse and I can't fix my spouse. So what do I do? Because we all are admitting my spouse does need, it'd be great. It'd be great if there were some things that changed about my spouse. Okay. Well, if I can't change that, then what am I supposed to do? Because some people, it's way more than just, my spouse needs to change because they keep throwing their dirty socks on the floor, I mean, some of this is really, really deep, and I understand. And here's again, we have to say this every now and then when we start. We're not telling you if you're in an abusive relationship where you're being physically abused and even emotionally abused. There's again, so much of that is it's wording. Like we don't know what that means in your situation. So
but if you're being physically abused and you're laying there wondering if they're ever going to stop,
get out. That's right.
And if they're habitually having affairs or, committing adultery with infidelity, and it's over and you're like, oh, well, they can change.
Or
and
there's an addiction that's put you or your children in danger. We're saying, look, God can redeem and God can restore, but those are situations that you don't lay there wondering about your safety and your children's safety. You get out. And again, you can't fix your spouse. Let God do that work.
Sure.
But there are situations, so like in our case, I'm laying there in bed and I'm going, okay, well, my wife had an affair and I believe that God's telling me to stay in this relationship, but she's got to change. Okay, well, there's also a change in I'm not going to ever do that again. And then there becomes this journey of my heart's going to change as well.
Right.
So if my question was just, she has to change, like, is she ever going to change or is she just going to keep on doing this? If I didn't know the answer to that, like if you just kept on doing it, then I would be gone.
Sure.
But if I made that decision and I knew that you were also making the decision, I'm staying here and fighting for our marriage, I'm not going to do that again, But yet I still lay there going, there's a whole lot about this woman that has to change. But again, I can't make you change.
Right.
So what do I do? So all I can do at that point is turn that sermon, turn that podcast, turn that question back on me and say, God, what are you trying to do in me right now? Because I had to get to a place where I said, okay, even if she never changes to become the person, the wife that I've always dreamed of having, if she never becomes that, am I going to stay in this relationship? And for most couples, they don't really have a biblical reason to get out of a marriage. So the answer to that is, well, I'm staying in this marriage because I have a covenant. There's a covenant relationship, and I don't have grounds for divorce. And some people are just looking for that. Some people are looking for grounds for divorce, but most people don't have that. And so then it becomes, if you never change, am I going to stay in this relationship? Well, the answer should be yes. I mean, unless there's something, like we've already gone through. So I'm not going to go back through all that. Unless some of that, then you're saying, no, I've made a commitment and a covenant before God, so I'm sticking this out. All right, does that mean that I may be till the day I die, you haven't changed a bit, and I just still am journeying through this with a spouse that hasn't changed any? Yeah, I mean, it could be that way.
Right.
But again, not your job. So your job is you.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about that. What does that mean, and how do we get to a place where our heart is ready for us to say, God, whatever you want to do in me? Because when that happens, I can tell you this, as you change, the climate and the temperature of your marriage changes because of who you are becoming, and most of the time it becomes impossible for your spouse to not change as well.
Right. And to not notice that what you're doing and want to be better because you're better, you know? And that's where our worship pastor, and you've already set it up beautifully for it, kind of landed with me differently in a different area of life that just rocked my world. But as I was thinking about how he used this illustration, how powerful it could be for somebody who's at 2:00 in the morning wondering, is my spouse ever going to change? And he was talking about in Exodus when, about Moses, and in Exodus 3, God appears to Moses in a burning bush, and Moses wasn't expecting it. It was out of the blue. It was a complete surprise, but God showed up powerfully in his life. But it said that Moses covered his head because he wasn't.
He didn't know how to respond.
Yeah. So he just covered his head. He wasn't expecting it. But did God show? I mean, he still showed up very powerfully, but Moses wasn't expecting it. And so what I loved about that was our worship pastor didn't say that's wrong.
Right.
I mean, that's not a bad thing because we can still learn from that. And God showed up.
And he still does. He surprises us and shows up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then later, as he matured, like he had been through lots of life by the time he got to Exodus 33. And he had walked a lot of journey. God had sent him out to do things that he was like, I don't want to do them, but he still did them. And he got rejected a lot. But he saw over and over the faithfulness of God. Over and over, he saw the faithfulness. And so in Exodus 33, he actually called out and asked God for his power and to show up powerfully because he was expecting it then. There was an expectation there. It didn't make the power any less. I mean, it's still just as powerful, but his heart was in a different place.
Yeah, I like that because he, in Exodus 33:18, he asked for God to show his glory. And the first time he had the encounter with God, he didn't ask for it. It was
Right.
just a surprise. And it was unexpected. And he didn't know how to respond. And so he covered his face. He just but he saw this is God and this is what he can do. But then, like you said, he goes through 30 chapters 30 chapters of leading the Israelites out of Egypt, and all of that goes on, all the different signs and the miracles and the things that happen,
The water.
Parting of the Red Sea, all of those things happening. And then in 33:18 he says, I want to see your glory, show me your glory. And it's because his heart had become surrendered to the power of God. He had seen it and what he can do all along the way. And so then he cried out for it and he said, give it to me. And he immediately fell down and worshiped because his heart knew how to respond to it. He didn't have to hide and cover his face and think. He worshiped.
Right.
And I love that illustration and just that reminder of how important it is that we prepare our hearts for an encounter with God.
Yeah.
Because I think even, in the setting that we were in, our worship pastor was talking about the actual, being prepared for an encounter and to not be surprised by it. But how do we do that? How do we get ourselves ready? Because if you're laying there in the middle of the night and you're like, change my spouse, nope, that's not it. Change me. And so then you're asking for God, show up in my life. Show up for me and show me what you're trying to teach me during this season. And so what ends up happening is you're coming and you're expecting this encounter in this place of humility and expectation and even a hunger for it. It's so different from just surprise me, God.
Yeah.
Just show up and surprise me. It's I'm expecting you to do something, and I'm expecting you to do something in me. So how do I posture myself to be prepared for that? And that's what, for seasons and years of Moses' life, he was preparing himself by being obedient, by being humble, by being hungry for, and then the expectation and just the faith and the trust of God, do it again. Won't you do it again? Do it again. And so he was ready. And I think that that's where we need to change our thought patterns in the middle of the night. It's yeah, God, I want you to change me, but get me ready. Get me ready to change me. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like, I think first is the humility. It's the humility of saying, I can't fix this person that's laying next to me or that's laying in another room.
Yeah.
I can't fix that person, but that's not what you're after anyway. And the humility of saying, I have to change my heart first. And, look, I can promise you, I laid there in bed many times thinking, I don't need to change. I didn't screw this up. I don't need to change anything. She's got to change. And, we could have continued on with our marriage, and you could have had your encounter with God like you did, and then started this journey to where you got to a place of full surrender and chasing after the Lord, and you changed, just like I was laying there begging for. But there's no way our marriage would be what it is today if I had not changed as well. And as I changed and God started working in my heart, even if you had not changed,
Right.
I would still be the man and the person, or at least striving for that.
That's
because
right.
I'm not there.
Sure.
But I would be striving to be the man, the husband, the father that God had called me to be, regardless of what was happening to the person that was laying next to me.
That's right.
And that's where we all have to get. We have to get to this place where I'm chasing after the Lord in spite of what's happening to them. Because their heart's not my responsibility. Now, look, I did want to say this. You can have conversation. Like, part of being married, and some of you have decent communication skills, and you do talk about things, but you still are like, that person's got to change. They got to change. It's okay to talk about things. Right. I mean, you don't just go through life and just go, this is really bothering me about my spouse, but I'm not going to say anything because it's not my job to,
Yeah.
You still have to communicate and say, hey, these are some things that are bothering me and we need to work on those, or, and what can I do? How can I help? And what do I need to change? But that's that humility that you're bringing into it. So all of that to say, there's a way to change this and to change it to a place where it's like, I'm fixing me. I have to let God work in my heart.
Yep. I had a question that
You about to ask
up.
me a question?
No. It's just one we're going to talk about.
Okay.
What would shift in your marriage if you expected God to meet you personally, even if your spouse isn't changing yet? Ooh. So it's not just the question we've been talking about, but what would shift in your marriage if that was your mindset? That if you expected God just to meet you, and even if your spouse isn't changing. And, I think about this can be as simple as surfacey things. Like, I'll just use the example of, I can't change this, but when I had my surgery, like I worried, not for long, but for a split second, that you wouldn't find me physically attractive, especially when we were nude, because of my scars. And I was like, I can't change that. Like, I can't fix that. But what if there's something about your spouse that you don't find attractive? Or what if your spouse is really overweight? Or, this can be things like that you think they're never going to change. They're never going to be different. They're never, and those can eat away at you. Those thoughts can and make you turn into, I don't find them attractive anymore. And what if God never changes that? So, we talk about heavy stuff all the time, about what if your spouse never quits, having an affair, or, there's addictions. There's people listening to this where maybe your spouse is addicted to something, or maybe your spouse never does Bible study, or maybe your spouse, there's a million different things that we can't put ourselves in your shoes. But what I love about the question is, what would shift in your marriage if you quit worrying about that and you only worried about God changing your heart? And that could even mean God changing your heart towards your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Because
definitely.
Because I'm just going to go back to the scars thing as an example. That's you saying it. Okay, I'll just talk about me. And I'll just go ahead and say, it doesn't bother me that you're bald.
Well, that's a good thing.
It doesn't.
Because I ain't wearing a toupee. If that's what you're...
It does not bother me. But we have talked to people where things physically like that bother them. Okay, so let's just say it bothered me. That's never going to change. So, and I know that's not going to change. Mm-hmm. So what my heart has to tender towards is tender towards that. Like, why am I putting so much importance on physical appearance? Mm-hmm. Like, you are the godliest man that I know, and you serve me well, and you love me well, and you have forgiven me, and you're the best dad that I know. And so why would I let something physical bother me like mm-hmm. that? But I have to tell myself that. Like, we have to tell ourselves that. Like, we have to tender our hearts mm-hmm. towards those things and speak truth to ourselves. And that's just a silly example, And, and I can hear people saying, if that's the only thing I had to worry about. So I know there's deeper things, and I know that there's harder things. But you can ask God to even change your heart towards your spouse, to not just, oh, well, I can't fix him, and so I'm just going to focus on me. But no, I can't fix him, but help tender my heart towards the things he does well, or the things that I see him trying to do. Because when nagging does not get you anywhere. If I nagged and nagged and nagged and nagged, you'd be like, not only am I not going to do it, but now I have no desire to do it. Like, it's because you're killing me. But if there's an encouragement there, and you're softening your heart towards your spouse, I think that not only are you focusing on you and preparing yourself and inviting God to show up and be prepared for his glory to show up, but you're also tendering your heart towards the person that's refusing to change.
That's really good. And I just jump in here too. If there's a a female that's listening to this, which I think most of our listeners are probably not most.
Yeah, I was fixing to say that's a lot.
I would say that over half are women, just based on statistics and things like that we're able to get from our podcast people. I would challenge you guys with this nagging. I'm just like, I don't know that nagging has ever caused a positive result in your husband. And I'm just speaking as a man. I do think that most of y'all that are listening, you listen because you trust what Heather and I say. And I'm just telling you, nagging is probably one of, if not the least effective way to get your husband to change.
I thought you were going to say attractive, but that's true too. It's the least attractive thing.
It is.
Nagging.
And it does not lead to change. If it does lead to change, it's not heart change or lasting change. It's, I'm scared to death of you and I'm tired of you nagging me. And so that's where you have, if you're one of those that you're just listening and you're like, oh my goodness, Rusty's really stepping on my toes right here. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because I want your marriage and I want your husband to be a godly husband, and I want your husband to be someone that loves you well. Like, that's our goal in this. We want this to improve your marriage. And so if you're a female, you're listening and you're like, I'm a nagger, that's where it starts with you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but it just doesn't help or change anything. As I was listening to you, can I wrap up?
Sure.
Okay. I've been just really over probably the past year. When I spend my time alone with God, one of my heart cries has just really been, I want to be known as a man of God. And how do I get there? Well, so much of it is I got to spend time with God. Like, I got to get to a place. I need to learn. I need to learn about God. I need to know who God is. But when I die, that's what I want people to say about me. I want people to say, oh my gosh, he loved his wife well. He loved his children. He loved his family. He pointed people to Jesus. He talked about Jesus to people. He encouraged people. He loved people. He served people. Like, I think of all of these things, and none of that it's not selfish. Like, I don't want, like, when I die, it's not that I want people to go, oh, Rusty. Yep. I just want that to be the thing they remember me by. Not for my job or, how well I did certain tasks or how good I was at certain things. Like, it really is just wrapped up in that. And so we had an incredible man of God that passed away. We didn't have the privilege of knowing him like other people did. We had some recent interaction with him, which is awesome that we had that opportunity.
Yeah.
But a recent man of God passed away in our church, and it happened yesterday. And so lots of people today have been talking about him, and the message that I was hearing over and over was what an incredible, humble servant, but like a warrior, like an evangelistic presence, like just like all of these things. And he was a good husband and a great father. I mean, their family is tight, like all these things. But never once did I hear anybody say, man, he was such a great guy because his wife was such a good person. Like it had, like his character and who he was it didn't have anything to do with his wife. Now, his wife is an incredible lady. So maybe this isn't the best example, but the example is she just helped to loft him up. But even if she was not who she was, nobody's talking about he's the man he is because she's a good woman too, you know? And so I say that because you're not striving to become the person that you want to be because of your spouse.
Right.
Like it doesn't really have anything to do with them. You're becoming that person because that's who you're supposed to be. And when you die, like, what do you want people to remember you by? Now, the prayer is, and you can cry out and pray like crazy for your spouse to come alongside you, because if I died today, that's what would happen. Like people would look at our marriage and think, wow, what a great redemption story. They would see who we were together. Praise God. Like that's what I want them to see. But even if you had not changed to the person that you are today, I could still become the person that people look at and go, oh my goodness, he did damage for the enemy, you know, that type thing.
Yeah.
And so that's my challenge. I just am challenging you guys to be a warrior for the kingdom. And yes, we want your spouse to be alongside you, but you can't control that.
Yep. But
But you can control who you are becoming. All right. Hey, reach out if we. Oh wait.
next week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Next week, tune in. We're gonna have an interview. Hopefully, if things all go well, and I have time to actually.
We're supposed to have a special guest next week.
Special guest. It's gonna be great. We actually have a sex therapist that's coming on, and somebody that we met recently, and then got connected with, and so, this is gonna be really good. So, make sure you tune in next week. And you mentioned the YouTube.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people, if you don't normally listen to us or watch us on YouTube, go over there and check it out and subscribe. It's because that just helps. Again, it helps more people. But I will tell you this. Some of y'all, you see us in pictures, you watch us you don't know that I'm bald. So I just took my hat off. My hat, if you're watching on YouTube, my hat actually says "Hello, folks."
You're welcome.
Heather gave me that for Father's Day, and I now do not have my hat on. So
You can't do that though because it like pew, that light.
I'm blinding everybody with the lights in our studio. But I just want you guys to see my bald head because
She's so cute anyway.
Well, thank you very much. All right. Hey, we'll see you
y'all
guys
next
next
time.
time. Peace.